When you speak about renovating, right, there's several ways to renovate a house. You pull the whole thing down and start fresh, or you make small changes over time. And we in the UK may have an election in November or December, and in the US there'll be an election in 2020, right? Are there any parts of the renovation you're proposing for politics that we could actually insert in the next few months in any of the major democracies that are voting in the next year or two?
Right, so Britain's got maybe, a few weeks, perhaps, before its election. United States, a few months.
Well,
doctors, do you have some cures?
Well, in Great Britain, one of the things being discussed, I mean, we're not proposing it, but as people here may know, Ireland did these series of citizen assemblies that were mandated by the government, by the parliament. They asked citizens to go out and talk about a very highly passionate, controversial issue, abortion. Should abortion be legal? It was in Section 8, I think, of the Constitution. It was outlawed in the Constitution. So it was a very polarized situation. The way citizen assemblies work, we were discussing how you've done it with people from all around the world. You bring together the pro and con forces, or the random sampling of citizens that represent the public, and you have pro and con tendencies. You have experts who present facts, and you have an environment that's removed from the political hot seat of an election, so people can, cool deliberation, as they always say. And they came to a consensus in Ireland on this abortion thing, to remove it from the Constitution. Some were for abortion, some against, but they thought it shouldn't be in the Constitution. That's just one example of a citizen assembly. Now, some in this country, Gordon Brown has done it, and some members of Parliament, head of select committees, have called for a citizens' assembly on how to go forward on Brexit. Now, these things take a lot of time. You can't do it by October 31st, because you got to bring people together, random sampling, get the right questions, get the right people. But if it's extended, I know there's several members of Parliament who are looking towards a citizen assembly on the Irish model to figure out, is there, well, if there's a second referendum, then it is especially kind of important. But even if there's not a second referendum, it's, okay, can you deal with immigration and leave the other part there, the trade part there, you deal with the trade part, leaving, there are very many variables that can be done, but a citizen assembly have worked elsewhere, and so that would make sense for Britain. In California, just to go back to the weeds just a little bit, what we found the problem, we have not a government proposed referendum, we have citizen initiatives. Any citizen group that gathers several 100,000 signatures can put a proposed law on the ballot, and if it's voted for by the public, it becomes law. In this way, property tax was cut, so locked in revenues and locked out spending. Same-sex marriage was outlawed, that was thrown out by the courts. Benefits to immigrants was passed, it was thrown out by the courts. There are many things that happened because there was no deliberative filter in between. You just got signatures and you got a vote, and that became a law. So when Nicholas talked before, our main argument is you need a second reading. If you're in the legislature, you have a second reading of a proposal. You have something in the Assembly, the Senate reads it, and they work back and forth, have a compromise. There was none of that with the Citizens Assembly. So we proposed with the Citizens Initiative. So Nicholas described one thing we did was to enable negotiation with the legislature, and he described how that works. If citizens propose something, the legislature, they can negotiate with the legislature and try to do it by legislation. If they can do it by legislation, they withdraw the bill from being a public vote. So in this way in California already, minimum wage law was passed, landmark minimum wage and landmark Digital Privacy Act. There were public initiatives that the legislature negotiated with sponsors, and the initiative really forced the legislature to act. So that's one way. But what's still missing is a second reading by citizens themselves. That when someone proposes, let's outlaw same-sex marriage, or let's spend more money on prisons and higher education, there's no public deliberation on the citizen side. So the other aspect of what we're proposing is these kind of citizens assemblies or policy juries, or even a second reading by upper house of the legislature, so that there's some back and forth. So the public knows what the real issues are. Like I said before, had all the issues of Brexit been aired in the initial referendum, I think things could have been mighty different.